Hello, I'm Alex Giampapa, and yes, I early voted for Harambe. Welcome to the Actual News, the only hard-hitting news show brave enough to admit that marijuana is a performance-enhancing drug.
Mary and Joseph.
This week, Dr. Wanthony Fauci said big Thanksgiving celebrations should be avoided. Yeah, we know. If you're not giving us new information, please don't talk. Hey everyone, make sure you put your turkey under a ceiling fan and the gravy has to be hand sanitizer. I wonder if this will be my 5th year in a row serving up a pie with text carved in the middle that just says Bernie would have won. News was reported that Breonna Taylor's boyfriend was investigated by internal officers. This is a common tactic for people murdered by police. They'll kill you, pick out some arbitrary part of your record, and say you deserve to be dead for it. He was shot 37 times, and then an additional 48 times, but in 2002 he illegally downloaded the first 4 seasons of The Office. Is that okay? These tactics by police are a surprise to basically no one. Bringing a battering ram to get into someone charged with a petty crimes apartment is completely unnecessary. Police should legally be required to first send a text that says, "You up?" A record DEA bust this week could provide a dose of meth for every man, woman, and child in the US and Mexico, but that kind of sounds like words coming from a watery-mouthed CIA agent who wants to destabilize the South American country. And who can blame him? It's tough finding out the US is so often the villain these days. We're not necessarily Daenerys, we're just supplying her with dragons for a profit and also creating enemies for her in order to create a demand for the dragons. That's a story that Dick R.R. Cheney wrote. Corona's brought 8 million people into poverty. It's funny because we wouldn't have that if the GOP would reauthorize the stimulus bill. No, listen, it's funny because they don't care. It's funny. A judge ruled that the Ohio Secretary of State can't limit one voter ballot box per county because it would obviously suppress a ton of votes. The Women's League of Voters, in conjunction with multiple civil rights groups, brought this to trial. The secretary defended himself by saying each voter box would have a blonde woman named Stacy working customer service to tell you in a pleasant tone that your vote will likely end up in a landfill. When we started this show, one of our goals was to report on topics that other informative comedy shows may be unable to because of restrictions from their network, their politics, or their secret CIA psyop to do PR for the Department of Defense. Ellen!
Apparently I'm part of some secret government conspiracy called the Deep State, and so I found out, have you heard of Deep State, anybody? Neither had I.
In today's segment, we're going to tackle one of the most disturbing topics, arguably the worst, child human trafficking. Sometimes people will say, well, there's worse stuff, and those people are pedophiles.
You know what's worse? When you give a gas station attendant $20, and then they look at it and say, is that a 20?
That's worse?
What?
That's worse than pedophilia? Were you paying attention?
It's so annoying, dude.
We have had a few complaints from people saying that reporting on pedophiles could be offensive. In response, we ask, offensive to who? The pedophiles? Harming children is so horrifying to most people that they end up ignoring it, which gives it the power to exist in such a prevalent way. The human trafficking industry makes an estimated $150 billion a year, with $99 billion of that coming from commercial sexual exploitation. In the US, over half of human trafficking cases were sexual cases involving children. So maybe, just maybe, the media and politicians should be talking about these issues and not whether Trump was wearing a diaper at his town hall.
What's a diaper?
I thought it would just be like a casual name for, like, a diaper.
Why would there be a casual name for a diaper?
I don't know, you want to, like, normalize stuff? You know, everyone's like, normalize crapping your pants in public. People are incontinent. So, like, basically you would go, you make it a cool thing, right? So you just get, like, a hot celeb, right? You get Justin Bieber, and he's in a commercial, and you see that his pants are a little saggy at the bottom, and someone goes, are you wearing a diaper? And he goes, bro, that's just my diaper.
No, what smells like shit, dude?
Oh, well, I mean, here's the worst part. Only 0.04% of survivors of human trafficking cases are identified. The vast majority go undetected because people are looking for what they think a creepy child abuser would look like. Comb over, mustache, big white van full of candy, duct tape and rope in the glove compartment, has "Kids Please" spray painted on the side of the van, wearing a name tag that says, "Hi, I'm a pedophile," but it's actually not that simple. Something we basically accept is that people in power don't get in trouble. They don't have the same rules as us, they don't have the same rights as us, and what naturally comes along with that is them thinking that they can do anything. So, some of them make money in corrupt ways, some of them fuck kids, and some of them do both. But that's pretty much it. Let's first talk about why something like child human trafficking, which is confirmed to be real, is so often dismissed as a conspiracy theory. It's because many of them are. Pizzagate was the 2016 case in which many people on the internet began theorizing that a pizza restaurant in DC, Comet Ping Pong, was holding kidnapped children for ritualistic abuse, including sacrifice. Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton were both implicated. Personally, I knew that wasn't true then. Hillary wouldn't be that sloppy.
I'm still looking through our emails.
You find anything?
I've been chipping away for years. Still nothing.
Did you look at the Tamara Lozado ones?
Hold on. Oh my God.
Pizzagate culminated in something really dangerous. A man with a gun showed up to Comet Ping Pong, demanded to get into the basement, and discovered no children getting diddled. Diddled is too fun of a word for what it means. As the police were arresting him, he told them he was investigating a pedophile ring, which have become common enough to have a nickname, pedo rings. At this time, we would like to note that pedo rings are completely separate from the product we launched a few weeks back, the actual news pedo ring, an anklet that tracks your steps. I sure love my pedo ring. The media reported this story far more than they did the developing case around Jeffrey Epstein. That way, when stoned guys with beards started talking about politicians being pedophiles, most people would go, oh, all that pedo stuff was made up. There's a new conspiracy theory about child trafficking too, QAnon. It's built up another large following on the internet that includes the idea that Donald Trump has been playing a long con in order to arrest Tom Hanks, who is the leader of the pedophile ring. Which is ridiculous. Tom Hanks has been anti-child abuse ever since he technically got molested in Big. He's 8 years old. Arrest that woman. Who is she, Ghislaine Maxwell? Trump refused to denounce QAnon. I shouldn't be surprised. He would never denounce a world where he's a child savior. He probably thinks it's true.
QAnon is nuts, and real leaders call conspiracy theories conspiracy theories. Why not just say it's crazy and not true?
He may be right. I just don't know about QAnon.
You do know.
I don't know. No, I don't know.
Speaking of Ghislaine Maxwell, that's an actual confirmed pedophile who was recently let out on bail with 6 federal charges, including child human trafficking. If you're not familiar, she and billionaire Jeffrey Epstein would on a regular basis engage in sex with girls as young as 14, and would also do so with notable politicians such as Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, and not Joe Biden. I don't know if Biden just wasn't invited, or more likely just thought it was a gay thing, but these days not being a pedophile is a pretty progressive stance for a politician, so vote Biden, I guess. Sadly, this isn't even the only case in the US of a rich guy owning a secret kid-fucking island. Epstein's situation is very comparable to a case from nearly 60 years ago, North Fox Island. In 1960, Francis Sheldon outbid the Michigan state government for the island. The state had offered the owner, an elderly widow, about $3,500. Sheldon offered $20K. Man. $20K for an island. Imagine that. The pedo island real estate market is so inflated these days. North Fox Island was pitched to people in Detroit as a place where underprivileged boys could attend a camp. Instead, it acted as a subscription service centered around the production of child porn featuring boys aged 7 to 16, but maybe some of these guys just signed up for the free trial and forgot to cancel at the end of the month? Nah, they're pedos. What was his name? Francis... This guy was also listed as a sponsor for the boys' farm uncovered in Winchester, Tennessee, run by Claudius Vermeil, a priest. Speaking of priests, in 2002, the Boston Globe blew open a global scandal implicating the Catholic Church in the widespread sexual abuse of young boys that dates back perhaps centuries and is still covered up today. Then there's Bryan Singer, who directed X-Men and more recently Bohemian Rhapsody, who has been accused multiple times of having relations with teen boys. Wait, is Kevin Spacey in X-Men? Oh, and then there's Jerry Sandusky, the longtime defensive coordinator for Penn State who got away with it for 30 years. And then there's perhaps the worst one of all, the Franklin scandal. It's well covered in the documentary Who Took Johnny, but if you don't know, organized kidnapping of young boys took place all over the Midwest during the 90s, 80s, 70s, perhaps earlier, and multiple attempts to uncover these crimes have been stopped by both state and federal government agencies, because politicians were involved. Sometimes you don't need a punchline, you just say the thing that happened. This is so common in so many different places that it's actually more reasonable to understand that they're not connected. This isn't a freak accident. This is something people do, and we as a society need to watch out for it, especially from powerful people. Granted, it feels hopeless, but there are people fighting. Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis' child defense nonprofit has saved nearly 6,000 children from human trafficking operations. We're pretty sure that one's true. We're really hoping Ashton Kutcher doesn't come out like, "You've been on punked, we didn't save anyone." In conclusion, I would say it's a responsibility for actual news outlets to report on this instead of constantly blaming either red team or blue team for everything that goes wrong. Until then, a stoned guy with a beard yelling about conspiracy theories is gonna have to do. Thank you very much. Audit the Fed, Black Lives Matter, don't fuck kids, and see you next week.